Hey guys, this is Chris of Wilson Wildlife Sculpture and Wood Carving. In this video I'm going to talk about how I finished these chipmunks and how I'm going to improve this sculpture of a barred owl. It's carved in one piece of Tupelo wood, which was a massive piece of wood. I've added this branch and Spanish moss, but I'm going to add some more things to it, just like I added to these chipmunks. In fact, if you watch the videos on my chipmunks, I showed how I carved them and painted them and created the oak leaves. I actually added whiskers to the faces of each chipmunk using tiny little eyelash that females use. I don't know what it's called because I don't use those. I also used some little paint bristles you can use as well. And so I used, because the eyelashes were a little too fine, so I used tweezers and glue and drilled them in place, and I think that adds a nice touch. I doubt you can see that real good here. I'll show you some close-ups if you stick to the end of this video. So thanks a lot for following me on Wilson Wildlife Sculpture. My YouTube channel is really growing. And one thing I can really discuss is composition, how I can improve both two-dimensional and three-dimensional work. Whatever type of art you do, it comes down to the elements and principles of art. I taught design as a professor of art at Kennesaw State University for 7 years. I also taught at Georgia State University as a TA, getting my master's degree in fine arts and sculpture. So it all comes down to the elements of line, space, color, texture, form, so on. There are others, and the principles of organization. That's the repetition, rhythm, movement, the unity, the variety, the emphasis, dominance. So many different principles that guide the organization of the elements of design. So you can use these in this work to create a sense of mood around your work, and that's one of the reasons I talked about changing my channel from Wilson Wildlife Wood Carving to Wilson Wildlife Sculpture, because I am not just focusing on the craft part of the subtractive wood carving process. I'm actually talking about the design of my works. I'm trying to evoke emotion through the sense of design, through the negative space and the mood it creates with the Spanish moss hanging. And so these are feelings I'm trying to evoke in my art that creates it sense of mood and uplifting feelings with my work. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I do that in these works. Let me just check to see if you're seeing everything okay here. The sculpture is pretty big, so that I had to use, you can see where I film here, basically in my foyer, and I have a light coming down here. And I use a turntable so I can see my pieces from all angles. So let me tell you a little bit about this piece and how I'm going to improve it. This is a life-size barred owl, and it is carved from one piece of Tupelo wood. I did add the talons. I carved some of the feet in place, but I did add the talons. I made them out of metal. It was a lot easier. I tried carving in place, but it looked much better adding them. I did add glass eyes, but this is one large piece. And Tupelo wood grows in the south in wetlands, so you can't get it in large pieces because the best portion of the tree is the bole of the tree that is similar to a cypress tree. So when underwater, that section it kind of swells up. It's called the bole of the tree, and it carves it's much softer than the higher portions of Tupelo gum, and it carves great. So I was able to get this piece, I believe, from Middle Georgia. If you haven't heard the story, I traded wood for a decoy about 30 years ago. 2 truckloads of Tupelo wood, and I'm still using that wood today. It carves wonderfully with power tools, not as well with hand tools. You can use it. I have many demonstration using my hand tools as well as power tools, such as NSK America's really fine micro grinders. To me, it's the best. I've been sculpting full-time for over 30 years and been doing this for over 40 years. I've carved several barred owls, life-size as well as miniature. I have them in installations in people's homes. And this piece has developed over time. So I carved it a while back, and it actually had a different branch that went over its head. It was more swooping, and I fabricated it, and when I actually lost the branch. I actually left it at a show when I was, I got lots of work when I bring to a show, I'm boxing work up and everything, and there was a flower arrangement, and so I put the branch by the flowers and it just blended right in, and I never even noticed it. And when I came back and I called the show, it was gone. So something, and it had Spanish moss and everything on it, but I guess people, I fooled them, they thought it was real. But this is metal. This is fabricated out of metal. And I'm going to show you some different ideas how I'm going to improve this piece. So I fabricated another branch. I'll show you how this comes apart. Okay. So this is using brass tubing. And again, this is metal. Actually, I made this part come apart here too, so that it can come apart again, like this, using square tubing. And so it's important to be able to ship your work or transport it to shows. This is a challenging piece, and that makes it a lot easier and safer to ship. Same thing with these chipmunks, which I showed earlier, how they come apart. Even the chipmunks come off the bases. So let me show you this a little bit closer here. I decided not to glue them in place so it'd be easier to transport. Also, I was able to get those whiskers. I'm not sure if you're able to see this detail here. It's a little too dark here, so I'll have to move the light and show some close-ups later. But first I want to show a little bit more about composition and how I'm going to improve this piece. The reason I have these chipmunks here is that I just noticed a little piece of metal here I've got to touch up and paint. But I get sidetracked a lot. I work on multiple pieces at a time, and the reason I have these chipmunks here is that I am going to add some color to this piece. This is too gray. The bark of the tree, the barred owl has browns and silver tones in it. And I made moss, which helps, but I really think it needs something else. So let me show you the process of my ideas. My first idea was to add some flowers. Okay, just kind of coming up from the base of this, could be a stump. Okay, so these are daisies, and I fabricated these out of metal. Basically, I use tubing. I silver soldered them together, and then I make the center of the daisy out of wood. That's how I start. There's a piece of, I think this is basswood. I also carved in basswood. It carves very well. And I stipple the texture here with some power tools. And then, yeah, you can see the center of the flower, which I painted, and it's glued in. Here's a finished. I cut this out of one piece, and then I actually inserted flower petals. I got a whole bunch of these here. And so I inserted a bunch of the top flower petals and then bent them. I also silver soldered leaves on here and painted them. So that was one idea, okay, to have a flower here, probably some more. It kind of complements the yellows in the bird's bill, the beak, and the feet. But then I also thought, well, why don't I add some grasses here? Tell me in your comments which you all like better. I'm still deciding here. It takes me a while to look at a composition and what kind of feelings do I want to evoke. Right now it has a real southern feel in Spanish moss. And I like that. But barred owls, they're throughout North America now. They've expanded their range to the northwest and to Canada. But I have many memories of seeing these birds up close, along rivers, and even in my yard I've seen barred owls. There was a nesting pair. I saw the juveniles just walk right underneath the tree, and that was so cool. But this is a mature bird. So this is one idea I had. I probably will go ahead and add the grasses. I'm not so sure about the flowers, because I think the grass activates space a little bit more. So talking about composition, lines are very important. So these lines create compositional movement. Compositional movement is the arrangement of the elements of design. So you're following the lines, okay? And if I have more grasses, that will even create more compositional movement. But you have to be careful when we're doing things. I want to create this eerie negative space. I don't want a diorama. I want to create feeling with my work and evoke peaceful emotions with the viewer. But it still needs more color. So the next step I thought of is to make leaves. So I have primed these leaves outside. These are cut out of brass. And I actually kind of messed up the spray bottle. I went with a darker color. I wanted them to look like this, okay? And they will look like this when I get layers of acrylics on here. But watch what happens when I put some of these pieces up here. Watch what happens to the composition. The more the added color, basically I just drill holes in the wood using a drill here, but I want to make sure I get good holes and try to arrange it like I had it before. I think one needs to be back here. So I'm getting ready for shows. I'm going to move these down so that I don't drop these. But yeah, these are just for reference, and that's how I want to get better oak leaves in color. I may even do some acorns and nuts like I have it on this one. Okay, but I'm going to drop these. I'm going to move these so I do not drop them, because doing a video I had made a mistake before, and I dropped a heron sculpture that was much larger than this, and I had to reconstruct the bill, which wasn't fun. So I've got shows I'm traveling to across the country in just a few weeks, so you'll see me doing lots of touch-ups. But with this piece, I want to do an arrangement of oak leaves, so I've drilled holes in here. Okay, there's two. And I'm going to figure out where else I want it. Take maybe, I think one more up here would be good. Kind of like that. I've got a couple others. I just kind of hold them up there and see how I like it. So I'm going to actually drill this one in place because I don't see my hole up there. I like to drill a hole the same side as the rod, so it's a pilot hole. And when I glue it in place with epoxy likes that to be snug, and it'll be stronger. Also, it'll stay in place better when you just hold it up there temporarily. Okay, I didn't quite get the right angle of that, but I can bend this. Okay, I could show the underside of the leaf like that. So I can vary it a little bit. Again, these aren't finished, but look how the color adds to it. Let me see if you can see that in the video here. Yeah, you can see it pretty good, not great. But it's gonna add color, and if I add the grasses down here, make sure you can see that too, then it'll pick up some of the green back here. Also has some yellow in here. This is gonna be painted, again, like more of the chipmunks. I'm gonna have better, different yellows and some different colors in there, different greens. But that's kind of how I work in approaching a composition. I look at color, I look at the texture, I look at the moss, the Spanish moss, the other moss, the texture of the bark, the texture of the feathers. I'm going to show you from all sides now. I look at the focal points, the emphasis, obviously the bird's eyes. Got a little dust on it here. I want it to look good from all angles, although it's mainly a frontal piece because that's the way the bird's looking. But I could have more grasses in the back if I wanted to. That might look good from the front. I see some, as I'm turning it, I see where I need to blend things and paint them a little bit better. And that's one reason I like doing these videos, so I can improve my work. And if you see how I can improve my videos, please hit some comments in my comment section. And if you're gaining value out of these videos, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit that like button as well. I appreciate all your feedback and support. So yeah, this is where I'm going with this piece. I'm happy so far with it, and it's going to be at a couple shows. So stay tuned, and I will show you more in the future. Thanks a lot for following me.